How's everyone doing tonight? This is Tech Talk with Jyrone Parker, aka Master Shake. It's been interesting. Today was Mark Zuckerberg's first appearance before Congress. He will have to come again tomorrow. Speaking about Facebook's handling of their privacy crises. Before we get started, I would like to remind everybody that my first ebook is coming out. Let me turn that down. So my first ebook is coming out May 1st, From Noob to Artisan. It is an ebook that is teaching full stack web development using Laravel and Vue.js. It is a crash course for people who are new to programming who want to get started writing full stack progressive web apps. Whether this is because they want to get into the field as a full stack engineer, or they want to have the knowledge base to be able to create an app by themselves, front end and back end. I am basically teaching the industry best practices that I learned at my time while I was at Apple, while I was at Sephora, GE, Dell, and the other companies in which I worked in my tenure as a senior software engineer. So right now until the end of April, I am hosting a pre-sale. So the pre-sale is $10. Normal price of the ebook will be $20. And if you buy the book during the pre-sale, you'll get a special coupon when the book releases, when you get your digital download in your email. So for all of those who wanted to support the channel, I ask that you can either do so via the donation links in the description. I have my PayPal, my Cash App, and then I also take cryptocurrency. But another way that you can support this channel and support yourself as well is pre-ordering my ebook. The knowledge that I'm putting in here, I could easily charge more than $20 for. You're going to be learning these skills by building 3 production level apps. And I'm teaching you best practices in full stack web engineering methodologies. These are practices that when companies notice, when they look at your code and see that this is how you're coding and that already know how to code like this, you're going to jump ahead in your career. Or if you want to take the entrepreneur route, you're going to be able to build quality products from the ground up. So if you want to support that, just head over to my website, JyroneParker.com, and head over to the store, and it's all there. Other than that, I think we're going to go ahead and get started. So Mark Zuckerberg, he was called to testify before Congress for 2 days. Over the privacy crisis at Facebook and their handling of such, and whether or not Facebook should be regulated. It was very long. It just recently ended. I mean, they're still doing coverage and whatnot, but I'm pretty sure that they ended. I ended up stopped watching it around 7-ish. But call me cynical, but I think that it was an utter shit show. The vast majority of the congressmen and women who were on that panel made it very obvious that they were not tech savvy. How you doing, Soul Alchemy? Thank you for coming. They demonstrated that they were not tech savvy. They demonstrated that they did not have a in-depth understanding of how internet businesses work. And truth be told, they're not interested in regulating Facebook. Facebook plays a very critical part in the digital infrastructure of American politics. More than just politics, just an American culture. But I'm going to get to that in a moment. I can't remember how many people made up the council, how many congressmen and women made up the council that was asking Mark Zuckerberg questions. But basically, they asked a whole range of questions. A lot of them weren't even pertaining to privacy. You know, they asked, was Facebook a left-leaning biased organization? That was, I think Ted Cruz was asking those questions, basically asking, was does Facebook have a bias towards left-leaning policies versus right wing policies? They asked him, Cory Booker specifically, I remember he asked Mark what Facebook was doing to protect, he said, communities of color, and then he also said African American. So communities of color who are targeted by law enforcement who use Facebook to do surveillance. I'll talk about that in depth. He was asked, of course, he was asked about Russia. He was asked about basically the value of users' privacy on Facebook. So, for example, Facebook, or Mark Zuckerberg, basically said that there will always be a version of Facebook that will remain free, which alludes that in the future there could be a paid version of Facebook that doesn't use ads, because ads is obviously the main business model for Facebook. So there'll probably in the near future be a free version of Facebook, which is the version we use now, and it's they got ads or whatnot. They'll probably strip down functionality or only add enhanced functionality to the paid version of Facebook. But the paid version of Facebook will probably have no ads and, like I said, more functionality, this, that, and the other. But I'll also talk more about that in depth in a moment. So, you know, he was asked about that, and also if people had to pay to take their data off of their if they delete their account, do they have to pay to delete their data? Mark said no, and that the data is deleted once you deleted your account. It's not instantaneously deleted because there's services that run in the background and delete stuff, which, you know, I know that to be true. I don't know to what extent he means they delete their data, because I'm very positive that they don't delete the metadata that they collect analyzing your data while you have your account. They may delete the actual data, but I highly doubt that they actually delete all of the data associated with your data or the metadata. Why are essential when it comes to writing code? Can you explain, Tristan? So I should have explained. I don't answer code questions during my tech talks. These Tuesdays and Thursdays are reserved for basically, this is like I guess you could think of like a little news broadcast about what's going on in the tech field, in tech and industry, and tech and politics. So if tomorrow I'll probably be doing a live code stream, so I will gladly answer that question then, or you can just hit me up offline. Sorry about that. But what was I saying? Sorry, I got off track there. The value of users' data. I already said that. Anyway, so yeah, I doubt they'll actually delete the metadata associated with your data. There were a couple slick attempts by some of the congressmen and women whose names I don't remember, basically asking Mark, does he think that the government will do a better job of handling users' data than Facebook is doing at handling users' data? And Mark pretty much laughed in his face and said, no, the government. Yeah, I mean that's a infringement of Fourth Amendment rights like a mug. I mean, it's a search and seizure. They would have search and seizure all day, legal search and seizure, mine that data all day. I'll talk about that in a minute as well. And also would love people to call in and talk about these subjects. I'll open up the phone lines here in a moment. There was a lot of the session that I couldn't watch as I was working and doing other things, but I'm gonna try to catch all of it tomorrow. So, but those were really basically the over points. We're talking about how they're going to handle data, how they handle data, what they're going to do in the future to prevent another Cambridge Analytica disaster. So for those who are not privy to what kind of started this whole thing and the whole episode with Cambridge Analytica, allow me to explain what happened. So there was a developer who was using the Facebook API and harvesting data from people who were using their app, signing in through Facebook or whatever. So no, Facebook was giving data to this app, and this developer was harvesting this data and selling the data to third parties, which is against Facebook's terms of services for a developer terms of services. So one of the people that the developer had sold data to was Cambridge Analytica. And Cambridge Analytica was I think the UK spinoff of an American company, or there was an American company that was a spinoff of the European company. But anyway, it was a analytics company, data company, based out of London, I believe. And so they bought this large data set from this developer, and basically this person had the Facebook data of over, I think it was 81 or 87 million, 80 something million Facebook users. And in this data, I mean, there was all sorts of information. And I believe that a lot of the stuff in this app was in a prior API version when there was more permissions to collect data. So I think a lot of it, I remember Mark saying that a lot of the problems that would have prevented this crisis from quote unquote crisis from happening is already solved in the new versions of the API. But of course, you know, whenever you solve one hole, another hole is going to eventually open up somewhere else. But that's another story for another day. So Facebook had reached, when they had noticed that this developer was selling information, they reached out to him, asked him to stop. He claimed that he did, and Facebook considered it a closed case, just to find out later that that wasn't the case, et cetera, et cetera. There were also the council was also out asking Mark Zuckerberg repeatedly, you know, why did it take you so long to respond? In which Mark responded that, you know, they had already considered the case closed because they had already reached out to the parties involved, and they claimed that they had deleted the data, et cetera, et cetera. And in hindsight, they should have done a full audit. I don't know how true that is. I kind of smell a hint of bullshit with that, but it is what it is. That's not the main point of this tech talk. But I just want to lay the groundwork for the stuff that was said for people who may or may not have a chance to watch the hearing. So Facebook now says that they are going to do a full audit of all apps that had access to large data sets, et cetera, et cetera. All this lip service talking about what they're going to do retroactively. They apologize repeatedly, said that they take blame for what, you know, in their part for not doing their due diligence, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So, you know, it looked good from a media standpoint. You know, Mark took responsibility. You know, he didn't argue. He wasn't rude. when people were asking him about the campaign, the hashtag delete Facebook campaign, or if it had any significant impact, he basically said none measurable. He kind of had to, I noticed he had to like stop himself from smiling. But I mean, that was pretty much the extent of like smugness that I saw from him. But, you know, I'm looking at this thing the whole time and I'm like, this is just really a media circus. You know, to people who don't really understand how much power and influence Facebook has and its its interweaving in government. You know, this looks like, you know, the senators, I think it was all senators, was putting Mark in his place. And then, you know, people were talking about it, Facebook going to be regulated and whatnot. And it's a media circus. They're not going to regulate Facebook. They're not going to dare regulate Facebook. One, they know the backlash they'll get if they try to overregulate Facebook and get, you know, for example, get them to have to share all their data through the government channels or whatnot. They're going to be tied up in court because that's just disrespecting the Fourth Amendment all day long. Because Facebook has 2.2. I repeat, 2.2 billion active users. Facebook reaches more people than Christianity, statistically. Christianity, I think, was like, what, 1.8 billion? So it's more than just America. You're talking like the data set for the world. For the world. Imagine the CIA or the NSA being in control of Facebook. They're regulated and their data set has to go through NSA for security analysis. Imagine that for a moment. All the data for 2.2 for more than a third or almost a third of the planet will have to go through the U.S. government. That's not going to happen because they know that approach will receive too much backlash. And also, you know, it would be too easy for Facebook to just like shut down and, you know, start or another company to come up and people migrate or whatnot. So going through a central approach isn't going to work for multiple reasons. And also, the government benefits from Facebook being the central authority that aggregates all of this data. Because when stuff like Cambridge Analytica happens, they can throw Mark Zuckerberg under the bus. Even though all this stuff was, you know, being used, I think they said the Cambridge Analytica whistleblower wanted to work with the Trump campaign manager to do some data analysis stuff. You know, a lot of this, the most, if not, I'm not going to say all, because I know some of it's used for other stuff, but the vast majority of this data that's being bought and sold, it's being bought and sold for political reasons, not for business reasons. I mean, business reasons too, but for the end goal of political reasons, if that makes sense. The U.S. government benefits from the fact that, the government benefits from the fact that it has it has a business that it can blame and can also go to get the information that they need. Now, Facebook claims that they do not sell data to advertisers directly. They don't sell direct data. Advertisers come to Facebook and say, here's my ad, here's the kind of people who I want to reach, and then Facebook takes it from there and sends out the appropriate ads. You don't know what profiles, you can't see the individual data of the people who view your ads on Facebook. Whereas the developers, when you write an app on when you write an app using the Facebook network, you have to give your app permissions when you register it with Facebook. You know, like read posts, post to your wall, read messages, etc., etc. Just like how you have to accept permissions when you download an app from the App Store or Play Store or whatnot. When you go to those apps and it's like log in with Facebook, and then it takes you through that whole login process, login flow, and it says this: you give this app permission to do X, Y, and Z. The developer can see that data that you gave them permission to see. It's still the user's responsibility. It's still the user's responsibility to agree to give that data to that application. But once you agree, you don't know what they're going to do with that data afterwards. At the very minimum they're going to use it to allow you to log in, but you don't know what they're putting in their databases that from your Facebook data and mining that. So anyway, that's the first part of what I want to talk about. So what I'm going to do is open up the phone line, and at any point in this conversation, you guys feel free to call in. The phone number is 502-791-6409. That's 502-791-6409, and I will put it in the chat. Give me 1 second. So yeah, go ahead and call and tell me what you think about anything that's going on so far. So so basically the situation that happened with Cambridge Analytica is that this developer who had I don't know if it was one app or a series of apps, I'm sure it was probably a series of apps that was collecting all this data, and he had a massive data set of users, millions of users. And when he was writing these apps, each app had a set of permissions, and when you use that person's web app or mobile app or whatever, you gave that app permission to look at your Facebook data. They took that data in the background, in addition to whatever, I don't know, there were games or little quizzes or whatever they are, and you basically he or she was saving that data, mining that data, and then selling that data as a package to third parties. Which, in the terms of services, it says it's against the terms of services. You can't do that. But obviously, clearly, it's like saying, well, the school shooter saw that it was a gun-free zone, so why, I put up the sign. That's basically what Facebook was saying. But then again, it's how do you enforce that? How do you enforce that you can use the data, but you can't save the data and sell it to somebody else? How do you enforce that? It's really not possible. So the only thing that you can do is restrict the permissions and restrict the amount of data that developers can get, which limits the capabilities and innovation for the good actors in the development community. So basically what has happened is Facebook has been lax on their rules, lax on their laws of how to use the site. They themselves ultimately have mined all of this data via using other developers who wrote their own applications. And then people are using those applications, logging in with Facebook or whatnot, and gathering data that way. They're basically decentralized data farming. They have this huge data. They have this huge data set. They know everything about you, down to what you're going to vote and what kind of food you're going to eat on a certain day. What time you're going to go to the gym. I mean, all sorts of stuff about you. They read your text messages. They do facial recognition and know that they know when it's you. They analyze your voice. They have your speech pattern. They got all this data, and then after they have all the data pretty much that they need, now they're like, okay, well, you guys, you developers, you can't get the data that you need now. We're just gonna cut you off. So, Mark was putting on this act, like, he's sorry and he's going to do this because he doesn't want them to regulate. I mean, he knows damn well they're not going to regulate him. But he has to put on the facade of like, please don't regulate me. Please let me regulate myself. I'm sorry. We can handle it. We're going to make it up to everybody. But, I mean, this was planned. They knew that eventually shit was going to hit the fan. There was an article, and I need to re-find it. When I might do a special prior to doing the coding live stream tomorrow. I might do a special report on my afterthoughts of the Senate hearing part 2. I might just save it for Thursday. But anywho, where was I going with that? Anywho, oh yeah. There was an article that was basically there was some Facebook employees, I think it was in the London office, that were protesting because there was a video that came out of somebody in the higher up management basically speaking about how Facebook cares more about user acquisition than anything else. Growth at any cost. And he said, even if a terrorist organization uses our platform to plan an attack, we still got to keep doing everything that we can to make sure that people can, we get as much user acquisition as possible. Doesn't matter if the users that they acquire are part of ISIS or Al Qaeda. Doesn't matter if the people who they acquire as users are, I don't know, pedophiles. So like did you know that there's like whole groups on Facebook that they'll be like, oh, cute baby pictures, newborn babies and newborn moms. These sickos are pretending to be moms and stuff to try to get people to put pictures of their babies on the site, on the Facebook group, so they can share the baby photos amongst their little sick pedophile friends. Facebook don't care who joins, just as long as they get user acquisition. That's a problem. That's greed. And as much power as they have, look, was it Department of Homeland Security or whoever said that people coming into the country need, they have to agree to let their social media profiles be searched, which leads me to question, well, what if somebody comes over who doesn't have any social media? Like I know a few people who don't have any social media whatsoever. But what about those people? They're just going to automatically be put on a no-fly list or something. Like anywho, Facebook, the government's not going to take over Facebook. I mean, any more than they already have. I mean, Facebook already, the police at any moment's time can go in and cut you off. They can take everything away from you. You can be live streaming yourself being shot by the police and it's off in 30 seconds. They say that they vehemently deny requests from law enforcement when they don't have a subpoena But we know that that's a lie, because when what was it, Corin Gaines, I think, was that the one who was live streaming the police and they shot her and her son? There's no way they got a subpoena in less than an hour. There's no way. So we know that's bullshit. We know that's bullshit. There's people who they were using Facebook. They used, it was on NPR. I can't remember exactly what they did. It was basically using Facebook to figure out where this person was. That he was in a parking garage and he was about to commit suicide, and he was like on the phone with first responders or something like that. He was on the phone with somebody, and then basically first responders were able to track where he was at, because when he was, or I think he was on Facebook Live, and using the images off Facebook Live in the background, they were able to tell where that guy was at, and then they came and got him, and he didn't commit suicide, and that's a very noble and good aspect. But on the day to day, they're not going to be using this technology to do it. Long story short, they don't have to regulate Facebook. They already have direct access to any data. They already have access to all the data, any data that they need when they need it. There's no need to regulate them. In fact, the intelligence community probably prefers that there's no regulation whatsoever, because if people feel like they're not being regulated, eventually, people get sloppy. They just put stuff on social media that they just should not put on social media. But for people like I said, CIA, NSA, FBI, police departments, prosecutors, anybody of that nature, they're gonna love that. I mean, oh, okay, yeah. Don't censor what they say, because this dude just basically just put that he was gonna commit a crime on his timeline. No, you don't need to regulate that. But I do want backdoor access, so when someone says these certain keywords, it's sent to the local field department, so we can preemptively stop these crimes, quote, quote. So we're going to see what happens. We're definitely going to see what happens. Part 2 is tomorrow. I don't, long story short, it was lip service. It was pretty much everything that I thought it was going to be. Facebook is like the banks back in 2008, right before the recession. Facebook's too big to fail, way too big to fail. If the government, I guarantee that if the government threatened to do some radical action to Facebook, Facebook would move to another country overnight. They would make one of their offices in another country their head office, and where they won't be affected by U.S. laws, but they'll just keep it moving. This is all lip service. Mark knows it. The congressmen know, and women know it, and I believe the most American people know it. It was one last thing, basically. Okay. Before I get into the details of the stuff I talked about earlier in the stream, I just want to take this time again. If you haven't been to my website, JyroneParker.com, I'm selling a new ebook. It's actually my first ebook. You guys check it out. It drops May 1st, 2018. However, I'm doing a pre-sale until the end of April. And so you can head over to JyroneParker.com/store and check it out there. You get a cool coupon in your email when you get the link to download the book. It's a great way to support the channel and learn full stack web development. if you don't want to buy a book, but you still want to support this channel, you can always donate PayPal, Cash App, or cryptocurrency. With all the links for those are in the description. And also remember to follow me on Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, all at MasterShake08, as MastaShake08. And lastly, if you haven't hit that like button or subscribe button, please hit both. So, going back to what I was saying, one of the senators basically was asking, he was referencing a spokesperson for Facebook suggesting that if the users don't want ads, if they want to opt out of all ads on Facebook, then they would have to pay to use Facebook. And one of these old fart senators was like, well, why should I have to pay to not see ads and not have my data sold? And yada. I'm like, and everybody's like, well, how's Facebook gonna make money? Their main thing is through ads. So Mark basically explained that, in order for Facebook to make money, they either have to do it free with advertisements, or they have to do a paid membership, which they're probably going to do. Now the thing is, just because you're not seeing advertisements from a third-party advertiser on the paid version does not mean that your data is still not being mined. Your actions on the site are still being mined. Your analytic tracking, all that stuff is still going on. All you're paying for is to not see the advertisements. That is all. So for those of you, whenever Facebook decides to put out their paid version, and you rush to pay for it, that's cool if you want to use it as a tax write-off, if you use Facebook for business and whatnot. But understand the whole aspect of your privacy is still gone. You do not have privacy. But at the same time, that's not necessarily a problem if they're transparent about it. I mean, if you tell me, hey, you're going to use my data and you're going to sell my data, or quote, quote, not sell my data, but sell my profile, sell my demographic to advertisers. I just want to, I should have full transparency on that. I don't care otherwise. Your product's great. I don't care about to see some ads. So, which leads me to think, outside of advertisements, because I don't think there'd be so much secrecy and be such a big uproar if it was just about privacy and advertisements. What else are they doing with your data? What else are they doing with your data? Did you know that Facebook is working on a project so that you can surf Facebook basically by using your brain waves, using telepathy, basically? Now, think about that. Let's think about that for a moment. There's a whole branch of AI and theoretical AI that speaks on consciousness transfer. The idea that we can upload our consciousness into a computer or into the cloud one day in the future. So, I'm pretty sure Facebook already has a working prototype in their lab somewhere working on the telepathy thing. But, when they have that finished and they're mining the data on your brain waves, when they're mining the data on your brain waves, when is it going to become the point where they know so much about you based off your behavioral data using the site and analyzing your brain waves because you're using that new mind feature that they can literally recreate your consciousness? Think about that. I mean, that's cool, but now let's think about what if somebody not what if, what's going to happen when they have that data. They're at the point they can recreate your consciousness and somebody steals that data. Okay, so let's imagine that I'm a hacker. Well, we don't have to imagine I'm a hacker, but let's imagine that I decided that we're in the future and I hacked Facebook and stole all this data, enough data where now I can recreate people based off the data that I stole or bought from the black market on the information from Facebook. Okay. So we're at the point, I can recreate people, put them in the computer. Let's even say that I got voice. We're at a point where I can recreate their voice because Facebook does have your speech pattern, and they're analyzing your speech patterns. So I could literally recreate you in my program, have you call the bank and just start pulling out loans or doing stuff and transferring it over to my name. And you wouldn't be able to prove anything in a court of law. I mean, because we're making a lot of assumptions about the hardware and software in the future, but it's not science fiction, it's science future. It will be here eventually. And this is stuff that we have to talk and think about. So, you're not going to be able to prove that. You're like, well, that sounds like you on the phone. You answered all the questions, right? Facebook has your ID and everything, like, there's so much data that Facebook knows about you. It's crazy. Long story short, you have to be aware that you're giving, in exchange for cool features, you're giving up a lot of information about yourself. And if it's in a decentralized manner, like, something on the blockchain or something where, it's the more people are using it, the more secure it is. I don't really care. But whenever you have a central authority with that much data, it's not that I don't think that Facebook themselves cannot. It's not so much that I think Facebook themselves are going to do things malicious, although I do think that they will. Is that when you have a central authority with that much power, you draw hackers, you draw people who want to steal that data because that data is valuable. So I'm worried about when they're going to be hit again, because there's no such thing as perpetuity, protection and perpetuity. You're never going to be able to always protect your system. There's new hacks, there's new this, there's new that. There's new ways to break hacks. There's new hacks being made. There's 0 days that don't get discovered for years at a time. So, how do you can't protect yourself from perpetuity. So Facebook's got a lot of decisions that they have to make. They got a lot of if they want to be that company that cares, that does care about privacy, that wants to protect people, they got a lot of decisions they got to make. But I know that's not the company that they are. They're not that company. Mark Zuckerberg was asked about hate speech on his platform, and gave a crappy answer about how they don't tolerate hate speech and they're using AI to. That was another thing. AI was a huge thing that he was drilling into everybody's head. AI. That they're using AI to flag stuff automatically, and that they used to have to do stuff um, they have to do stuff manually. And so what I heard is our AI is biased because I see I see white people say all sorts of hate speech that doesn't get banned, but when black people retaliate, they get put in Facebook jail off the grip for 30 days. So yeah. One of the things that really bothered me was that they asked them a lot of simple questions. Like, for example, one senator put forth a privacy bill of rights, internet privacy bill of rights, targeted. I think it was like targeted to people who are minors, 16 and under. And he simply asked, would Mark Zuckerberg be in favor of a privacy bill of rights for children under the age of 16 and under, so that their data cannot be sold or traded without parental consent? And he said everything but yes or no. It should have been a simple yes. It should have been a simple yes. I support legislation for minors, to protect minors. He was like, well, at Facebook, we do everything we can. It was another thing. Just like, leave me alone and let Facebook handle everything, which, that's not the answer. But the answer isn't all. The answer also isn't to let the government take over, which leads to the question of what is the answer. And I don't know what the answer is. I mean, I think that it's gonna be a combination of answers to a series of sub answers to sub problems that come together. I'm gonna remind everybody that the telephone lines are open. The phone number is 502-791-6409. Once again, that's 502-791-6409. I would love to have you guys call in and give me your opinion on what you think about what Mark Zuckerberg said. What do you think about what's going to happen with privacy going forward? That's the next part that I'm going to get into. But I'm going to go ahead and open up the phone lines now. Give you guys a little bit. He was being defensive and political to his company. Yeah, he was being very defensive and political of his company. And I expect that. I mean, he didn't want to come to the Senate hearing. He did everything he could to avoid coming to this point. But now he pretty much has to. He pretty much has to come up in front of Congress. He's fucked up so much. So, Alchemy, you want to give a call up and talk about it? Sorry, I'm eating Clementine, so I haven't eaten in a while. But yeah. Once again, the phone number is 502-791-6409. I'd love to have you guys call up. But yeah, I mean, there are a lot of questions that should have been simple yes or no. I mean, do you support better changes to, identify hate groups? Do you support this? You support that? It should have been simple yes or no. I mean, he just kept giving long-winded circular answers. It was crap. Not tonight. I'm juggling a few things right now. Okay, that's cool. Everybody who's watching, go ahead and like and share if you haven't done so already. I'm gonna hit this last point, and then I'm probably going to, unless I start getting calls, I'm probably going to get off. So, part 2 is tomorrow. I'm going to make sure to be able to watch it all day to get everything, all the details. And, yeah, I mean, Facebook, Mark Zuckerberg made it, I appreciate that so Alchemy. I really do appreciate. I have noticed that you have been tuning in very consistently, and I appreciate that. So Mark Zuckerberg has been hammering the point home that AI is going to be that is increasingly taking a huge role in the company's infrastructure. He even goes as far as to say that regulation doesn't, he alluded rather that regulation doesn't need to have a human component, that it can be done with artificial intelligence. And yes, it can, but I don't think we're at that level yet. And not from a programmatic standpoint. I think from an engineering, software engineering standpoint, I think we're at the cusp of it, if not already there. But the human element, because when you design AI, there's always a human bias. Now, you can develop a system that can unlearn its biases and relearn, but that's really complicated. You're getting into like genetic algorithms. It's possible though. In college, I was really big into AI, like the really heavy AI. And there's a branch of algorithms called genetic algorithms, and then there's neural networks and all that. I'll talk about that stuff probably later in the year as I'm going along in my Python classes, which at the end of the stream I'll talk about that some more. I'm going to be doing Python classes and doing an AI course online. In that particular conference, he showed something they are working on where you wear some kind of glasses of you and use Facebook that way. Yeah, basically making a VR/AR version of Facebook. I don't know if you guys are Futurama fans or not, but there's an old episode of Futurama where they were using the internet and they literally like plugged into the internet, and they were like playing like laser tag or whatever in the internet. That's what it's gonna be like. People are sleeping on VR. VR is coming up. A lot of people, when talking about like 4K televisions, they're like, it doesn't make sense that go past 1080 because the eye can't tell a difference. On big screen TVs, you can't. 4K in the VR space on a phone, people are like, why do I have a 4K phone? This is for VR. We're getting ready for VR. We're gonna in the next, I'm gonna say 3 to 5 years. I'm gonna be an optimist. In the next 3 to 5 years, VR is gonna be really big. You're gonna be sitting down at the computer, and just putting on your headset. It's gonna be like crazy. Gaming is gonna be crazy. And Facebook, Facebook really big in the gaming market. You're gonna see Facebook. You're gonna see Facebook get real big in the VR gaming space. But that's, I don't want to get too off topic. But the long and short of it from today's meeting, Mark Zuckerberg made it clear that he's pretty much not going to. He pretty much told the government, "I'm not letting you regulate me." That's basically what happened. He was like, we worked together on the back door, but ultimately I have more. He said, I have so much power, you really can't touch me. You can annoy me with these meetings, but you can't really touch me. And the government really just showed how ignorant they are. The council, they really just showed how much homework they need to do, because they don't even understand. They're asking questions that don't even align with the answers they're trying to seek, because they're using the jargon incorrect and shit like that. So we got it's I can't remember what the term is when business pretty much rules government, but we're at that point. It's mostly for show. You're right, Soul Alchemy. It's mostly for show. But anyway, guys, that was pretty much it for part one. Part two, at the very minimum, I'll upload a video from tomorrow. I'll make it a quick intro and overview of what happened. Let me give you some updates about what's going on with the channel, and then I'm gonna get off here and we'll do some live coding tomorrow. So as of right now, I'm at 343 subscribers. I've been growing at a pretty decent rate, faster than I thought I would be, and I really want to do this full time. You know, I love coding. I have my company. I like teaching code. I like talking. I like doing these tech talks. I like doing my blog. I like writing my apps and telling and demonstrating the entrepreneurial process. But you know, running my company and doing my apping for other people, that's my main source of income. You know, I have to focus on that, and a lot of times that's why I miss the streams, because I'm pulling late nights. You know, I didn't stream yesterday. I'm gonna try to make up with it tomorrow. But what I would like to do, I want to get to the point where you know, I'm hiring more engineers, outsourcing more of the work on my consulting side, and I'm basically doing this full time. I'm doing the blogging, I'm going to the conferences and doing the live streaming there. I'm doing the tech talks, I'm doing the live coding sessions, in the crypto talks. Oh, you hit 1,000 today? Congratulations. Yeah, so you know, I'm looking at my analytics and I'm getting a lot of view time, especially like for my crypto conferences and stuff. But because I'm not at that 1,000 yet, I can't really make a business out of it. So what I'm asking for you guys is to, you know, share. If you haven't already, subscribe. Because once I get to the point where I can do this full time, you know, I want to do the live coding Monday. We have the tech talk Tuesday, Thursday rather. I want to do crypto Wednesdays, and then I would love to do Entrepreneur Friday. So, you know, in order to do that, I need to get my following up. You know, I told you guys, you know, I'm doing my ebook sale. So if you guys want to support me on that, that'd be great. If you guys want to help support me on the donation side, that'd be great. You know, the more stuff that I can get done on this side, the more that I'll feel comfortable like outsourcing more hours to hiring more engineers and stuff like that. Because ultimately, I want to run my company more than you know, working 100-hour work weeks. Even though I do enjoy what I'm doing, you know, the whole point of owning a company is you want to grow it and expand it. So, you know, you guys support me, and I love doing this. So I'm gonna support you. So if you haven't already, please go to my website, JyroneParker.com, and you'll see if you head over to the store, you'll see the ebook. Also, if you, like I said, if you don't want to buy a book, you just want to donate to support the channel, I have my PayPal, I have my crypto information, and I have my Cash App information in the description below. I'll see you guys tomorrow. We're going to work on the web RTC, the web voice API app, and we're going to work with the voice synthesis API to have our web app read back our notes to us from the screen. So hope to see you guys there. If you haven't already checked out the code, check out the stream from last Monday, and the link to the GitHub and everything is there. You can download the code, be up to date with us, and be ready to rock and roll on Wednesday. So once again, guys, I appreciate y'all. I love y'all, and I will talk to you guys later.